Why exactly business model is required? So it is required in order to define a complete business process. With respect to 2010, there was again an update in the ERP system where they included the cloud-based ERP, that the enterprise or an organization is blessed by ERP, that they get that centralized data in one database. If there is any transaction with respect to the stock or the service, it will get immediately updated in the system. Hello everyone, I welcome you all to the first session of Unit 1, and this is with respect to enterprise resource and planning subject. Unit 1 is all about understanding the fundamentals of ERP. Over here, my name is Deepa Kutnikar. I'm working as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. Let's move forward and see the agenda of today's session. In today's session, we will be understanding what exactly an ERP is. Then we do understand what is an enterprises. Then we also discuss something called as business model. So how to model a business. So what are the things that we are supposed to note during modeling a business? So we will be learning it. Then we also do discuss the integrated data model. We understand how the integration happens with respect to an organization, then followed by integrated management information. So we will be discussing it. Then finally, we will be understanding what are the benefits and risk of ERP. So this is the complete agenda of today's session, and this is with respect to Unit 1. Let's move forward. So let's understand ERP is just a system software. Okay, what is it? It is an integrated software that manages and automates almost all the process that is being involved in the organization, or we can also say it has the complete process is being managed using a single centralized database, and it is called as a ERP. So now what is an ERP? ERP is just a integrated software system. So what is it? It is just a software which is capable of handling complete process of an organization. It automates all the process. And how is it done? Using a single centralized database. Now let's see what are the characteristics of this ERP. So the first character is an integrated system. As I told over here, almost all the departments are considered and they are directed as a one single platform. This next character is centralized database. All the information of different departments are stored in one location. Okay, that's our second character. Next one is real-time processing. Let's consider if you make any of the change with respect to ERP or inside the ERP software, then the change is automatically updated in the system. So there will be an exact real-time operation which will be running behind our process. So these are the important key characters of a ERP. And over here we can observe that there is an ERP system, and for that ERP system, various departments process are allocated and ERP acts as a centralized database. Now let's see what are the various departments that we can expect. First one is finance department, HR department, logistics department, then the maintenance management, sales and distribution, for the quality management, the material management, manufacturing, as well as strategic and operational planning. So these are various steps that an organization will be having. So all these steps are centralized into one single system, and that is called as a ERP system. And that system is managed by what? A single software, and that software is called as a ERP software. All right, let's move forward. Now let's see an example of ERP. Whenever a customer or we place an order in the Amazon, then what's the process? So let's have a look over here. First, a customer orders. Then with respect to that, the inventory gets updated in the app. And next, it asks for a payment recorded. Okay, it will verify the payment, like what is the mode of the payment. Then the invoice is generated. And finally, the warehouse is been notified that yes, there is an order for that product. you have to start for delivery with respect to that product. The next step is the product delivery. Yes, once there will be various stages, like it is out from warehouse, on the way, and out for delivery. So you'll be getting such notifications, correct? So finally, after delivering that product, what happens with the system? The system gets updated, and we can observe that all these activities are automatically coordinated through a ERP system. All right, so whatever the online transaction, the ordering transaction we see in our today's life is all handled very efficiently by what? By a simple ERP system. So let's move forward and see the history of our ERP. Yes, what is ERP? Do you remember? Yes, it is none other than Enterprise Resource Planning. So the evolution of ERP started in 1960s with the Inventory Management and Control System. So it is called as ICS system. Here the inventories were started to manage with respect to computers. Okay, the computers were used to update the inventories. Next, in the year 1970s, they came up with a new update that is considered as Material Requirement Planning, which is MRP. What is it? Material Requirement Planning. And what happens in this MRP is the material requirement was maintained as a soft copy, and they started with updating the things, or we can say that they were trying to automate the things under MRP. Now next, in 1980s, there evolved an update of MRP, and it is considered as MRP2. What is MRP? Yes, Manufacturing Resource Planning. That is the next version or updated version of our first MRP. Next, in 1990s, exactly, we came up with a ERP, that is Enterprise Resource Planning. Here, the complete process was handled by a single centralized database. So they started with managing the departments, they started with complete automation. So they were trying to do all these things, and in 2000s they came up with the update for ERP, which is considered as EERP, or we can also call it as ERP2. Now, what is the new functionality that is updated in this is web functionalities with internet. So in 2000s, they started with this update. And up next, with respect to 2010, there was again an update in the ERP system where they included the cloud-based ERP. They were not storing the information in their centralized system, and they gave some space in the cloud in order to manage and handle the complete process of ERP. All right. So what is the new trend? Any guesses? Yes, exactly. That is ERP with AI. So now the updated ERP version is capable of getting suggestions through AI. So that is the recent technology, and this follows the evolution or history of ERP. Okay. All right, let's move forward. So in that ERP, let's understand what exactly a single enterprise means. Okay, enterprise in the sense it is just an organization, or we can also consider as a business that combines people, resources, technology, and the processes to produce the goods and services. So what is the need to produce goods and services? So it has to keep in line of our business goals. So keeping the business goal in line, this helps to combine people, resources, technology, etc. So that is considered as a simple enterprise. Now let's see the key points with respect to this enterprise. Business organization. So this is an enterprise. The business organization is also considered as an enterprise which operates to provide product and services to the customers. The next is resource management. An enterprise has to efficiently manage the people, money, materials, isn't it? Yes, that is with respect to the resource management. The next is multiple departments. As we know, an organization or enterprise won't run with a single department. There will be multiple departments which will be included, correct? So yes, those multiple departments are like HR, finance, sales, marketing, production, etc. So these are the basic key points with respect to a simple enterprise. Now let's see like what exactly is a characteristic of a enterprise. All right, starting with goal oriented. Enterprise in the sense organization will run with a goal, correct? So that has to map with a production or the service. So let's see that the first character of an enterprise is goal oriented. The enterprise should have a clear goal. Okay, that's the initial thing. Next is the customer centric. Has an enterprise, or we can say that has a good enterprise, they have to satisfy the customer, isn't it? So that is the customer centric. The next key character is interdependent departments. Each and every department has their own functionalities, correct? And in order to pursue that functionality, those departments will be dependent on other department, right? So that is nothing but interdependent departments. The next character is continuous growth. Yes, as an enterprise, we expect the continuous growth in our production or service, correct? That is, the enterprise should adapt to the continuous changing technologies and various market demands. Now let's see a simple example of these enterprises. So the first example is Amazon, Flipkart, Reliance Industries, Infosys, hospitals. So we can consider this as an organization, isn't it? So it has a goal. They work with interdepartment dependencies and they are customer centric and they see the continuous growth. They have a vision of continuous growth. So these are considered as organizations or a simple enterprise. Okay, so let's move forward with business modeling. So let's consider a simple modeling word first. Modeling in the sense what? We are creating a structure for our goal, correct? So when our goal is business and creating an environment or a structure for that goal is considered as a business modeling. Now let's see the definition of this business modeling. So we can define it as a process of representing how a organization performs its business activities, creates values and delivers the products or the services to the customers. So this is a complete definition of business modeling. Now let's see like why exactly business model is required. So it is required in order to define a complete business process. By doing so, we can clearly identify like what exactly the sequence of businesses. So we can identify the business activity. If there is any update, we can do that, or if we are okay with it, we can go with it and we can check with the customer satisfaction and all. All right, the next point with respect to the requirement of business model is if we create an exact model for our business, it helps as a key to improve the efficiency of our business. It means like it helps in eliminating the unnecessary steps and delays throughout the process. Okay, so that is considered as a business model. So over here we can see an example. We have considered a business model concept and what are the parameters that we have to keep a note on. So yes, the first thing is our customers. Who will be our end customer? We have to verify that, and what are our competencies, followed by what is the revenue for our goal or for our business, then followed by the products that we can deliver in order to satisfy our customers, then the cost of our business, then followed by the management. So how the management should be modeled, or what are the changes that has to be done with respect to make the business more efficient. Then further we can also see the distribution of various departments. We can also take a look like what are the services we are planning for and what are the services that we are catering in our present scenario. So this are the complete key points that we are supposed to take a look when we are going with starting a business or delivering a business model. So let's move forward and see like what are the components that are included in the business model. Yes, we have already seen it, but to note that, let's again discuss it. So the customers, suppliers, employees, products, followed by payments, manufacturing, delivery, and the inventory. So these are the various components that are taken care whenever we are heading with modeling any of the business. So let's move forward with a example. Okay. So over here, we have a small example. So the customer places order and the sales department receives that order. Okay. The inventory is being checked for that order stock. Clear. Next, the finance confirms the payment. If the order is available, then they confirm the payment and the warehouse packs that product. If the product is not available, then they can't do this. They can directly show that it is not available. Okay. And finally, it is out for delivery and further delivered to customer. So whenever we are placing a simple order, have you thought what are the steps that is been included? So these are the various steps that is been included just to place an order from any of the online sites. Clear? So that's we have considered as simple example for our business process. Next is a integrated data model. So now we did understood like what are the various factors or what are the various department that exist as an organization or as an enterprise, right? Now the next thing we are studying is integrated data model. Now what about the data or the information that is taken care or that is collected from various departments? So let's see over here, an integrated data model is a centralized database where all the organizational departments store and they have access of the same data. So it's not that if I store, it's done. So again, whenever I need that data, it should be open to access, right? So this is nothing but an integrated data model. Now let's consider and see like why exactly the integrated data model is required. So without which can't we complete our business? Yes, let's see why is it required. So if there is no ERP system, then there will be a duplication of records. Okay, because multiple departments have their own record of same product and that records has to be maintained by different departments, which is a duplication work. Okay, the next thing is data inconsistency. So some department, the various department workers level will be changing, correct? So the individual department workers information will be varying continuously because the level of the worker, level of their thinking, level of their requirement varies, isn't it? So that's there will be inconsistency of data which will be noticed. Then we have a delayed communication. So you might have seen in big industries, they have their blocks situated kilometers away from each other. So that time, if you want to take a decision, just consider without a system, if they have to come physically and sit for a meeting and then take a decision, so it is a complete time consuming task, correct? So if we have all the information in one system, if we have a centralized database, then it becomes easy for all the departments to take a look of the information, like what is the updated information of the stock. Then okay, if there is a necessary that all the departments have to meet, then they'll come together and they'll have a meeting. If not, it is some basic thing which can be managed with the system. They can do it then and there itself. Okay, so that's the advantage. So we are very, very blessed by ERP, or we can say that the enterprise or an organization is blessed by ERP, that they get that centralized data in one database. Okay, let's move forward. Let's see the advantages of our integrated data model. The first advantage is single source of truth. So the information, whatever is stored in a server, it is a single source of truth. So there will be no duplication of information, no inconsistent information. All right. So we can say that all department access the same updated information. Okay. So that is meant by single source of information. The next advantage is real-time updates. If there is any transaction with respect to the stock or the service, it will get immediately updated in the system, and thus we get a real-time update. The next advantage is data consistency. It means that the data duplications or duplicated data will be eliminated, and any conflicting record is available that will be verified then and there itself, and a complete decision will be shown. Thus, these are the various advantages of a integrated data module. So yes, this is a very good thing. There is a difference between a traditional system, what was followed, and a system with a ERP. So let's see, without ERP, there were separate databases. So there was a separate database for HR, there was a separate database for finance, there was a separate database for handling the production. But with respect to ERP, we have one centralized database. So that database is single. So it is the same for finance. The next difference is, in our traditional system, as we discussed, there were duplication of data. But in the ERP, there is no duplication. It is a single copy of information or the data. The next difference is the communication is slow. But with respect to ERP, we get real-time update, we get real-time information. All right. The next difference is the reporting is difficult. Why? Because multiple departments information is different. They have to sit and verify, okay, for this, what is your department information? What is your department information? And after verifying all the department's information, they have to write a report. But that's not the case with respect to ERP. They get a exact real-time information. Okay. So that is the difference. And with respect to report writing under ERP, it becomes a easy task for report generation. So before, they have to write it in a paper by aligning all the departments, and then they have to maintain a soft copy. So that was a complete long procedure. But with respect to ERP, we have reduced our work to so extent that the process is also easier, as well as the gathering of information is also easier, and the database is secured. Okay, so there are many advantages compared to the system, that's the traditional system, and with our ERP system. So this is a difference. Without ERP, they have to sit struggling for the information, okay, for real information, for the real-time information. But we ERP, the system gets updated then and there itself. You can track like what exactly is the status of that information also. So that is a difference between a traditional system and a ERP system. The next topic is integrated management information. Now let's see like what is the management information that we are supposed to get by the integration of multiple departments. So we can observe here the integrated management information. It provides a accurate real-time information in order to manage the information by combining data through all the departments. So this is called as integrated management information. Now let's see like what exactly is the importance of this information. This supports in decision making. In order to take a real-time decision, the management information will support. So how does it support? It supports by managing or by receiving the updated information from the central database. The next importance is improves planning. It helps in forecasting sales, inventory, and the financial requirements. The next importance is it increases the productivity. As the manual report writing task is reduced, so it is a complete must and should task for every department, and it takes more time also because each and everything has to be verified, confirmed, and then they have to go for that writing the report task. So as there will be no manual report writing task, the productivity is increased. Okay, now let's see what are the information that is available in ERP. So through ERP, we can manage or we can get information of daily sales. Then we can also get the information of employee attendance. Then we can verify what is the profit, what is the loss. Up next, we can also verify the information regarding our inventory, like which is the machine that needs the service in this month and what is the status of the available inventories, and all can be verified through the single ERP system. Thus, we can say that integrated management information provides a accurate as well as real-time information to managers by combining the information of all the departments. Okay, so this is about a integrated management information. Let's move forward and see the basic concepts of ERP. Now let's see the basic concepts of ERP. The first concept is integration. Correct, right? Even in the definition of ERP, we started with a integrated, correct? So now let's understand what is this integration. It means that all the various departments that is present in the organization will be sharing information through one common system. The next concept is centralized database. What is centralized database? It is a location which stores the complete organizational data or the information. The next concept is automation. Whichever repetitive task that is present in the enterprise can be noted and it can be automated, and through this we can also say the efficiency of the production will be increased, or we can also say that the automation increases the operational efficiency. Let's see the next concept. So the next thing is real-time processing. It means that the information is updated immediately after each transaction. So note immediately, all right. So it gives us a real-time processing. The next concept is standardization. It ensures that the ERP ensures that every department follows the same business rules and the procedures. All right. So the next concept is information sharing. Various departments can share the information, or we can say that there will be exchange of information between different departments, that too quickly without any duplication. All right. The next is scalability. So the enterprise or the organization has to keep on updating or keep on growing, correct? So in order to support the growth, ERP is also available to extend itself with respect to the growth of the organization. So it is meant by scalability. Now let's see the benefits of ERP. The most important benefit of ERP is improved productivity. So how the productivity is increased? By automating the tasks, correct? Yes, that's the first benefit. Next is better decision making. As it is ERP is available for every real-time update, we can expect the accurate and timely reports. So through these reports, we can easily see like what is the profit, what is the loss, where are we going wrong, and everything. The next benefit is reduced operational cost. How is this possible? Yes, through minimizing paperwork and manual efforts. The next benefit is enhanced customer satisfaction. As we follow each and everything, we get a real-time update. We are automating the process. Yes, definitely there will be change in the customer relationship. It becomes more better, correct? So yes, that's the customer satisfaction. In the sense, the faster order processing improves the customer experience, correct, right? Whenever you order an item, you check like what is the delivery date, how fast this product will be arriving. So we will be checking, correct? So that's what. The next benefit is efficient inventory management. As the update is checked day-wise and the inventories are verified through a single centralized database, there will be efficient stock management. In the sense, it prevents stock shortages and excess inventory. So there should be no shortages and even no excess inventory in order to manage our efficiency, correct? Okay, that's the benefit. And next is better communication. Definitely, has the department share the information through a single centralized database, there will be an efficient information exchange that works seamlessly. So these are the various benefits of ERP. Very, very important with respect to your exams. Has ERP has so many advantages. Is there any risk with respect to ERP? So let's study it now. The first risk that can be pointed is high initial cost. So the initial cost of ERP will be high. Why? Because we have to spend more on the softwares required, we have to spend on the hardware which are suitable for that software to handle, and we have to give training for the employees, correct? So because of this, the initial cost will be high. The next risk is complex implementation. As an enterprise organ or an organization, there will be multiple departments, and that multiple departments data has to be collected and it has to be uploaded at the initial work, correct? So for that initial stage, the implementation is complex. Okay, the next risk is employee resistance. Always we can't say that employees will happily take the updates that an organization brings in. So there will be few employees who will hesitate in order to accept that new update or new change due to the change in their work process. All right. So the next risk is training requirements. Yes, absolutely. With respect to ERP, if you are initiating it, then the efficient training has to be provided for those employees, correct? That is, the staff must be trained efficiently to use the ERP softwares. So they should have that knowledge, like how to manage the software, how to keep an update on it, how to verify the day-wise reports, etc. So these are the various risks that we can observe with respect to ERP. So this was all about the unit 1 of ERP. So we have completed our first unit and see you in unit 2. Thank you.